if two different children are applying for college, let's say one is white and one is black, and there's one slot available, should they be evaluated based on the same objective criteria? Test scores, for instance. Which race do you think should be preferred?
I do not think that a single race should be preferred.
You just said that you believe that race should be considered in employer hiring practices.
I don't know. There's going to be a transcript of this hearing. I didn't say that in that way.
Okay.
Patriots, buckle up, because what I just watched during this so-called hearing featuring Dr. Harper was nothing short of another attempt by the radical left to twist the American values we hold dear. This wasn't just a discussion on ageism or diversity. This was a direct shot at meritocracy, individual responsibility, and colorblind fairness. Let's break it down, because I've got some things to say.
Thank you for holding this hearing, and thank you to all of the witnesses for taking the time to be here. We certainly really appreciate it. Dr. Harper, I've got a couple questions for you. Just starting out, do you believe that ageism is a form of bigotry?
Yes.
You do? Yeah, I thought so, because you wrote an article saying that ageism in media discourse about Biden's re-election is an issue. Do you still believe that ageism was an issue in the past election cycle?
I believe that ageism in any form and in any context is a problem.
Do you believe that Americans who were concerned about Joe Biden's age were bigoted?
I did not say that in my article, nor do I claim that now.
You said that ageism is a form of bigotry.
Ageism is a form of bigotry, but I did not say that in my article. You cannot misrepresent my idea.
Okay, well, why don't you provide your explanation for that? Ageism is a form of bigotry. People who were concerned about Joe Biden's age were ageist. How do you square that?
I'm less concerned about Joe Biden's age. I am more concerned about young people and older Americans being systematically denied opportunities and access because of their age.
Do you think that Joe Biden's age had a relation to his cognitive decline?
That is outside of my area of expertise.
Do you need to be an expert to determine whether an 82-year-old man who is clearly visibly declining mentally on camera, if that has anything to do with his age?
I'm not a cognitive scientist.
You're not? Okay. Of course you're not. Do you think those Americans were right to be concerned about Joe Biden's age?
Again, you're missing the point. The point is about the ageism itself. Okay. It isn't about Joe Biden.
We're going to move on. Do you believe that America should be a colorblind society? For instance, should people be treated differently based on their race? It's just a yes or no question.
It's not a yes or no question.
It's a yes or no question.
It is as I said in the beginning of my testimony, America has not done right by indigenous peoples, by black people, by Asian American and Pacific Islander people.
Should people be treated differently based on their race? Yes or no?
People should receive the services and the support and the remedies that are
your answer
owed to them.
That they should be treated differently based on their race.
They should receive the remedies that are owed to them because of the systemic racism and injustice.
Do you believe that race should be considered in employer hiring practices?
I do not believe that white people are the only qualified people for jobs.
I didn't say that. Nobody said that. I asked you if race should be considered in employer hiring practices. And you're not going to intimidate me by slandering me as a racist.
You're also, I did not call you a racist. No, you're not going to intimidate me by insisting that I called you a racist.
It's a straightforward question. It's a yes or no question. Should race be considered in employer hiring practices? Yes or no?
I believe that diversity ought to be considered as companies and other organizations attempt to reflect their customers, our country.
I'll take that as a yes. Which race do you think should be preferred?
I do not think that a single race should be preferred.
You just said that you believe that race should be considered in employer hiring practices.
I don't know. There's going to be a transcript of this hearing. I didn't say that in that way.
Okay. Why don't you explain what you believe?
What I said and what I believe is that the demographic composition of workplaces, our nation's military, and so on, our Congress ought to reflect the diversity of the United States of America.
Demographic composition. Racial demographic, is that what you're saying?
Racial, gender.
Okay, so race should be a factor in employer hiring practices. Yeah, that's what you're saying, is it not?
Organizations ought to attempt to match the diversity of their...
You're hopping around the question.
No,
you don't want to
I am
answer
answering quite straightforwardly,
who
as a matter of
gets to
fact.
determine which races are preferred?
I already told you I don't have a single racial group.
You just told me that you believe that the racial demographic makeup should be taken into account in hiring practices.
And it should be reflected in all levels of companies and other organizations.
Okay, let's talk about college admissions. If two different children are applying for college, let's say one is white and one is black, and there's one slot available, should they be evaluated based on the same objective criteria? Test scores, for instance.
Are you familiar with holistic admissions?
Should they be held to the same standards regarding test scores?
I am a proponent of holistic admissions.
It's just a yes or no question.
Yeah, no, I can't answer that question for you as a proponent of holistic admissions.
Got it. I'll take that as a no. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, let's start with this. Dr. Harper says ageism is bigotry. Sure, on paper, nobody should be judged solely on age. But here's the catch: when we're talking about the President of the United States, it's not about bigotry, it's about fitness, mental sharpness, clarity. Joe Biden is not being judged for being old, he's being judged for looking and sounding like he's not up to the job. And that's a fact, not hate speech. Oh, thanks for the clarification, doctor, but we see the game being played here. This is classic leftist doublespeak: call everyone bigots until it's inconvenient, then walk it back with academic waffle. But the message is clear: if you question Biden's competency, you're a bad person. Not here, not today. Then we get to the heart of the issue, the idea that America shouldn't be colorblind. Folks, that is the most un-American thing I've heard in a while. This country was built on the idea that all men are created equal, not that some need remedies and handouts because of past grievances. That's not progress, that's division. Let me be clear, we all want a fair shot for every American: black, white, Hispanic, Asian, you name it. But supporting people should be about opportunity, not rewriting the rules of fairness. Systemic racism, in 2025? We've had a black president. We have black billionaires. We have minorities at the top of every industry. What we need is less victimhood and more empowerment. Dr. Harper says race should be a factor in hiring. Excuse me. Hiring should be based on one thing only: qualification. If we start picking people based on skin color instead of skill, we're not promoting equality. We're promoting incompetence. That's how you destroy companies, industries, and trust in the system. Patriots, this hearing was a wake-up call. The elites are trying to reshape this country with identity politics, excuses, and social engineering. But we say nitrogen monoxide. We believe in equal opportunity, not equal outcomes. We believe in accountability, not blame games. And we believe in judging a man not by the color of his skin or the number of candles on his birthday cake, but by his actions, his words, and his results. God bless America, and God help us if we don't fight back. Like, share, and subscribe if you stand for truth, freedom, and the Constitution. We're just getting started.